Hello up there. It's Brad J. Lamb.
You too can become a condo millionaire.
The Todd Shapiro Show. Canada Laughs. SiriusXM 168.
Every now and then you run into old friends, and then sometimes you run into old friends and you try and finagle them for some cake. and Brad Lamb and I had a really nice talk a few weeks ago, and Brad's been a big supporter of mine, and I want to introduce him now as a full-on sponsor of the show, and I'm so grateful and so happy you're here. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Good, man. Brad Lamb, you're like people in the Toronto area are probably going, Brad Lamb, Brad Lamb, and then they realize, oh my God, that's the guy who's not only on a ton of billboards, but also his name is on a ton of buildings. How long have you been in this realty development game for?
Well, I started selling real estate in Toronto in 1988, and I started developing with partners in 2001. And then I started developing really alone with Lamb Development Corp in 2005.
Wow! And how many buildings would you have actually developed now?
In Toronto, over 20. 2 in Montreal, 5 and 6 in Ottawa, and we're building 1 in Calgary right now.
It is mind-boggling what your company and what you have accomplished, and you'll see on one of your billboards now over $8 billion sold. $8 billion. Does that number even blow you away if you think back to 1988 when you first started?
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, I don't think about it much until I sit down and look at it. I'm like, wow, that's a big number. It's a lot of homes, a lot of faces. I've looked in a lot of eyes and seen a lot of faces. Yeah.
In 1988, you get into real estate. You're selling real estate. Did you? I know you as a visionary, and I guess I'm trying to interview you more for those who don't. But I mean, did you see the state that Toronto especially would be at now in 2016 back then? Did you have a feeling we'd be getting there as huge as it is?
No. I think that Toronto has punched above its weight for the last 15 years. It's great that it has, because we've arrived where we are, and we are a world-class city. I mean, anyone who's not been here, if they lived here and went away for 15 years and came back, they can't believe where we're at. It's a fun, amazing city. But one thing I did realize when I left university and wanted to be in real estate, I was an engineer. I realized that the future of cities was apartment living, and so as soon as I could, I got into that business.
Why would you have thought that? Because, especially, and the reason why I ask is the generation that I'm from, everyone I knew grew up in homes. It was, homes were, when my parents bought a house, it was $55,000. And, that was a home that, you had yards and things. And the sort of urbanization was not, wouldn't ever have been a thought of mine, but, amazing that I guess it was of yours. Why did you think that?
Well, I think that $55,000 property was probably 1958 or something.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago. But so I've always followed what I like, sure. Right? So I grew up in Montreal and Beaconsfield in the suburbs, and I would do anything to get downtown on the weekends. Anything, hitchhike, jump a train, whatever I could do. And when I went to university, I went to Queens. I came back and I lived in Oakville with my parents. And I, again, would do anything to get out of Oakville. I mean, I just hated the suburbs. And all I wanted to do was live in the city so badly. I mean, I really wanted to live downtown. And I couldn't fathom how anyone who was 20 or 25 or 30 didn't want to live in the city. And so the only way you can live in the city at that age is an apartment. So I just thought everyone's got to be like me.
To be able to afford that and be down there. And did you ever do like a trip to New York or something and watch how sort of life was lived over there with it being really in the heart of a city?
Yeah, I mean, I went to New York a couple of times in my university days, but it wasn't really that. It was just that there was nothing to do in the suburbs. I mean, that I thought that was fun to do, And I didn't like the style of housing and how every house on my block looked basically the same except maybe a peak roof, shutters are green or blue.
It's like a Monopoly board.
Yeah. It was unbelievable that people didn't have any kind of creative interest in living in something different, And so I just thought, the city has so much to offer in terms of eclectic life. And so, I just thought it's naturally what I wanted to do. And I just believed that there were a lot of young people like me.
And how many people do you have working at Brad J. Lamb Realty now?
Well, we don't have that many agents. We have between it changes between people getting fired and quitting, but but we sort of stick around the 18 to 20 number, and with 18 to 20 agents, we're pretty efficient and pretty good. We move around 1,200 units a year. So
Wow!
So my agents generally make more money. Like you have to be a pretty bad agent in my office not to clear $100,000 a year. Net.
Well, I might quit and go for my real estate license right now.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
By the way, you'd be great. So.
I think I'd be pretty good. One of the discussions we had, a very honest discussion recently, was I've actually been very fortunate, especially with that sudden, a few years ago when I was out of work and I didn't know what I was doing. And I was really lucky because I made 3 great investments within condos I lived in. And really, and part of it was my own kind of vision. I took a chance. I took a mortgage way higher than I ever thought so. My parents discouraged me from doing it. But I saw what you saw, but it was actually 2002, that there was going to be growth. And when there's growth, for sure, then in my opinion, with more people coming downtown, that I would have that investment there. And I've been fortunate. Is that something you try? And I know you do these seminars and you have the Condo Millionaire pamphlet and stuff. Is that something you try and discuss with young buyers to say, hey, you know what? Not only is this a great place for you to live in a LAM standard condominium, but also this will be a great investment for you.
Yeah, but I mean, for a minute, just forget about living a LAM standard or a LAM built condo. I've tried for almost 30 years to get in the heads of young people to understand that getting a home is the most important thing. There's a certain number of people that just don't get it. They just, no matter how many times you show them or tell them, no matter how many stories I could tell like yours, I could tell thousands of stories like yours, they don't believe it. There's just a certain number of people that will not believe it. They think I'm lying, or they think that somehow it was perfect timing, that's how you did it, or maybe your parents had money and helped you. So I try very hard to try to convince people, not because I'm trying to sell them something, because I don't care anymore if you buy from me. And my day isn't changed by someone buying 1 or 2 apartments from me anymore. I really want to get into the heads of young people and explain to them that the first thing you should do when you get out of school, first thing, is to try to buy your home and live in it. And live in it for a long time, not live it for a short time.
You do the condo seminars. It's really nice that, you're at a point where you really give back to people. I mean, you're not charging for these seminars. You're having people come in 50, 70 at a time or something, correct? Yeah. And what are some of the things, and how can people find out about the Brad J. Lamb Realty seminars where it's you speaking, and then B, what are some of the things they can expect to hear?
Well, so for instance, I would say 8 years ago, I used to do them in large formats of 400 or 500 people, and I would charge. And only because to get 400 to 500 people to come out, you have to spend money so they find out about it. They have to advertise and so on. And what I found was they were not intimate, and people would listen to what you said, but they would just go away and not change their life, right? So a few years ago, I started doing every now and then, because I'm pretty busy, it's hard to do, these more intimate settings in my office where we can see anywhere from 60 to 70 people in this motivational room we have. And I do it because I meet so many people who really need help. And obviously I also do it, I sell real estate. So I want to say, first of all, obviously I benefit if people come to my seminar and they hire one of the people that work for me to buy their first home. And I also benefit if they buy one of my homes that I built. But that's not really why I do it. I mean, I do it, they're painful, right? To sit in front of 70 or 80 people, it's painful to do that. And so I do them about 4 times a year. And this particular one, we're doing one tonight for first-time buyers. We're doing one tomorrow night for investors. And the investor one's oversubscribed by 3 times, so we're doing another one next Wednesday night in my office. And they start at 6:30.
Wow, good stuff. The office on King Street in Toronto. The number King Street again?
778 King Laughs.
7 and information for, is it all at torontocondos.com? Is that where we can find out everything?
If anyone, you shouldn't show up. You need to reserve a place. Yeah, but so if someone is interested, it would be next week's investor seminar only. And that would be at info@torontocondos.com.
Back to that biggest decision of a young buyer's life, for sure it is. For sure, it's such a huge investment. And, I love the campaign you have out now that shows, and I hear it all the time, these part-time realtors, and you really highlight it well. Like the guy's a part-time bartender, part-time Uber driver, whatever, part-time tattoo artist, whatever. And I happen to have my real estate license. And then you have people who work for you are really, they're dedicated. This is their entire livelihood. This is their career, being a realtor. The difference there, and it is an important one, I think, for people to understand. How would you explain that, Brad?
Well, I think the problem with our industry is that the bar to entry is very low, right? There's, I don't even know how many now. There's probably 60,000, maybe 70,000 real estate agents in Toronto. There's probably a need for 20. And so there's a lot of useless people selling real estate. And so first thing is it hurts our reputation because consumers don't value their service, don't think their service is worth anything. But if you actually meet someone, a really good real estate agent, someone that's got experience and knowledge, they will blow you away with what they know, and they'll save you so much money. From just when you go to see a house, most people, when they go to see a single-family home, they drive up, they get out, and they walk into the house, they look at the house, and they walk out. You should spend 20 minutes on the outside of a house before you even go in. But I can tell you that 95% of real estate agents don't do that, right? Our guys will say, wait a minute, don't go in yet. Let's see what this house looks like. By the way, is the house sinking? Is it cockeyed? Is the brick falling off, right? Let's look at the lot. Let's look at, is there any sign of sewer problems in the front yard? Like anything like that is vital to know, but only experience tells you that stuff. And that's just one of many, many things. So I think what frustrates me is that the media and general public tar us, I think, as a service that's not necessary. And I think that when you work with someone who has knowledge and experience and expertise, you realize the service is necessary. But they're rare people in our industry. So that ad was really to point out that, not everyone is that guy or that woman. That guy's driving a rental car, a two-seater, has multiple jobs, probably sells, the average real estate agent in Toronto sells 3 properties a year, right? So one every 4 months. And that's who most people, and they sell about 70% of the real estate. So most real estate sold with people that have no idea what they're doing. And you're hiring them and they're making a fee and it's your fault. So we're trying to point out that what you should be doing is if you're going to hire a real estate agent, hire a great one. They cost pretty well the same amount as a shitty one.
I had I've spoke about it candidly before through Scott Shallow, who was part of the show and works for you. Scott Shallow, he literally
he's the model in my ad.
Well, he's a good looking dude. I know. He probably asked for money for that, didn't he? We almost bought a home, and Scott said he knew that I wasn't feeling right, and he said, "Do not buy this home." And the second I heard that from a realtor who I knew would have got a healthy commission, that was the guy for me. We waited a couple more months, and we found the one that we loved, and he also directed us here, and I think in like 2 years it's probably $300,000 more than what we bought it for already. Housing prices, you mentioned about, people always think it's a timing and this and that. Are we continually going to just go up that sort of 10% it seems every year, or it's wild to see it just go up. It's a great time to be a homeowner.
Yeah, but we have to caution ourselves not to believe it's forever. So if you look at the last 34 years of Toronto's MLS statistics, the average house price has increased 6.4% over those 34 years. So that meant that a $76,000 home 34 years ago is worth $818,000 today on average. That's the average numbers. 6.4 is the average. There's been years where it's been negative 10. There's been years it's been negative 20. And there's been years when it's been 15%. So what we need to expect is that there's going to be another slowdown in the economy. I'm not talking about a slowdown like we see now. I'm talking about a serious slowdown where there's negative growth and there's unemployment, people losing their jobs. And when that happens, real estate prices will fall. But the point is if you buy a home and you stay in your home and you don't sell it in those periods, you'll always do well. So, it's about homes here. It's not about investing. I think one of the great side things about buying a house is that you pay off your mortgage. It's like forced savings, right? You pay off $8,000 to $10,000 every year on a $300,000 mortgage. But over time, you wake up after 10 years and you say, okay, honey, if you're married or living with someone, let's take a look at what this house is worth. And it's routine that in Toronto or any big city like Toronto, that you could make over 10 years $100,000 or $150,000, which is way more than you'd make if you rented, which you'd make nothing. And everyone says, well, there's a savings in rent, that the rent's less than owning a home, but not really materially. If you're buying a affordable home in Toronto, it's really not a whole lot cheaper to rent versus own.
Well, and the rent you're never using for any other investment. It's just money you're throwing away, which is sort of why I always wanted to take chances when I was younger. And I really do love that you're here giving this expert the advice here, because the Todd Shapiro Show listener, right? And I might be stereotyping who they are, but it's probably like a 25 to 40-year-old guy. And maybe some of those 30, 32, 33 are starting to buy. But there's probably a bunch of kids right now going, what should I do? What should I do? And it's just too important not to consider it. And, what I love about it, too, is here you are. You don't really need to be giving back this type of advice. You've done well for yourself, but it's so wonderful that you are, because they can pick the brain of a guy who's helped build Toronto. And you always make yourself available, don't you?
I try to.
Yeah.
I mean, I sometimes I read the negative press that I get.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Why?
Well, because you want to improve. You want to understand, what people, what you're doing that upsets people. I mean, I'm a city builder. I'm trying to make the city builder better, and I would like I'm looking across the street at that stuff, right, which is horrible.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do stuff like that. So I'm always trying to understand, what the people out there want, right? And I also want to listen to what they think about me. I'm just not going to change who I am, but I want to know what they say sometimes. And one of the things is that us in this industry and me at this level, that I'm self-interested, right, and just making more money and that kind of thing. It's all about making more money. I stopped caring about. I don't care about making money, but I stopped caring about making money like I did 20 years ago, 10 years ago. What I really care about now is doing good work and trying to, and actually it sounds funny in a way to say this, but I really care about trying to mentor young people however I can. So I heard this stuff about me not returning phone calls, or that I'm too arrogant to return phone calls. And I'd say anyone who calls my office and wants to talk to me, I answer the phone all the time. Like, I'll just pick up the phone. Doesn't matter who they are. Hey, it's Brad. And I think that surprises some people that I will talk to anybody, but I will. If someone has a question, please don't, I don't want thousands of people calling me now, but just if someone has a question about real estate or they're looking at a property and it's with some other company and they want some advice, I'm totally happy to do it.
That's amazing. Brad J. Lamb, TorontoCondos.com, and obviously the developments in Calgary and in Ottawa and stuff. Is it neat to see Canada, as a whole start to kind of, I feel, catch up in these beautiful buildings that you develop, like stylish, modern, cool looking, different. That must be fun for you to be a part of that too.
It's fun, and I think what's also interesting is that when you bring a different perspective to another city, it's like a virus. It kind of catches on. So when we started working in Calgary about 6 years ago, the product in Calgary is pretty shitty. It really is. But in the last 5 or 6 years, and I'm not saying it's just because of me, other people from Toronto who are good are now working. Like Great Golf Homes is doing stuff in Calgary now, and Fram is, and other big companies from Toronto. And it's not that people in Calgary didn't know what to do. They were doing stuff that was what they knew. That's what they knew. But when you bring in a different perspective from another city, which might be a more worldly perspective in terms of real estate, it changes the city for the better. And that's a fun thing to see, that you can infect a city with an idea and it grows and gets better and the city changes. Even the club scene and the bar scene and the restaurant scene changes as a result of the housing.
I love it. You were recently in Dubai, and I mean that seems to be, and I've never been, but the sort of the cream of the crop when it comes to architecture and big buildings and stylish stuff. Do you partly go there to learn from that side, or just is there some business dealings that maybe we can get in on over there?
Well, Dubai was not for work.
Okay. Oh, okay.
But to the extent that whenever I had to go further along to another country for work. And on the way back, I had a choice of Abu Dhabi or Dubai, and I had a choice of just staying 12 hours in a layover or staying for a few days. So I brought Scotty, a friend of mine who works with me, and we kind of partied a little bit in Dubai.
Nice.
But I'll tell you, Dubai is a very inspiring city. It's interesting because clearly the buildings aren't full, right? someone has got the attitude if we build it, they will come. And it seems like it's a mad rush to finish whatever was in the mind of whoever invented it, the sheik there. It's really behind the revolution change of that city. But world class does not describe what's going on in Dubai. It's insane. The amount of money, the quality of hotel rooms and food and entertainment and everything, the roads, the lighting. I mean, it's just awesome what they're doing there. Now, it's in the middle of nowhere, kind of, and clearly, they're spending money for the future, right? They're investing in all this infrastructure in these properties, and they're not full.
Okay, but I mean, it's a good place to go and visit.
It's a great place to visit, and it's a great place to get inspired because nothing there, the architecture, not all of it, but a lot of the architecture is amongst the best in the world.
You're very proud, obviously, of what Brad J. Lamb Realty and Brad J. Lamb Developments has done right here in Toronto. Also, another campaign you have going is We Are Toronto. How proud are you, Brad, to see what this city has been doing in the last decade, and to know that really there's a lot of that has to do with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm proud of what I've done because I think I've only started. I want to do really great things, But what I am a proud Torontonian, and when I travel, I talk about Toronto and tell people how great the city is. And it's interesting, when I started, traveling a lot, it was probably 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago. And people would be like, what's Toronto? What is that? A lot of Americans and Europeans more so would know, but Americans know. A lot of Americans had no idea. And now everyone does. Like everywhere I go, I say I'm from Toronto. In Dubai, I tell people I'm from Toronto. Oh, Toronto, it's a great city. I've been to Toronto. It's amazing. A lot of the people, I was in Sri Lanka, was the other place I was in. And the little guy that was our porter, or whatever you'd call him, at the hotel, he's like, where are you from? And he said, Toronto. He goes, oh, I love Toronto. It's amazing. I'm like, have you been there? He goes, no, but I have a cousin there. I worked on a cruise line from Vancouver to Alaska, and I want to go back. I think it's amazing. Everywhere I go now, Toronto is up there in the checklist of a good place to go and visit, and I think it's a very exciting place to live.
Now, if only the Raptors could beat Cleveland. Did you watch the game last night?
I was with my daughter last night, so It was a fight for the control of the TV. Okay. So it was that and Land Before Time. But I watched 10 minutes of it, and it was bad.
Yeah,
it was bad.
Cleveland's a good team.
They're a good team. I think that, listen, if they can get a couple games or even a game, at this point, that's probably good. I don't see them in the finals.
Unfortunately, I think that's the reality of it. I'm still going to dream. How tall are you, Brad?
I'm 6'5".
You're big. Do you ever play ball?
I played hockey.
You're a hockey guy. Yeah. I wouldn't want to be hit by you, man. Well, Brad, listen, we're grateful to be sort of have this partnership and these synergies, and it's. Listen, it's true to my heart. My other passion is real estate and condominiums especially, and I love the fact that we can help steer people towards making the right investment, and there's no question I fully endorse, and obviously what you've done in your day in this now, 30-plus years, or almost 30 years, I guess, of, right? 88 to 16, is that
28?
Is that 28?
26.
26 years. 26 years. It's a lot of years.
Long time.
And your company and the reputation speaks for itself. Thank you so much to Brad J. Lamb, TorontoCondos.com. We're going to hear from Brad every Wednesday.
The Todd Shapiro Show, Canada Laughs, SiriusXM 168. The Todd Shapiro Show.
All right, we really appreciate you watching that video. Make sure you check out some more videos. Why not? Let's get caught in the Shapiro Show vortex right here. Or you can subscribe to the channel right here and check out videos at any point because we're going to give you all the alerts. We do appreciate you being a part of our family. Most families hate each other, not ours. We love you.